green screen keying in Natron. Now, on the left here, we have a keyer tab with a few nodes. Now, the question is, okay, which one should we use? The biggest question is actually which method do you want to use? And I would like to address two methods with you. The first method is where you have chroma keyer, hue keyer, and the keyer, and you notice they have what? They have a color picker. Okay, so this is generally one method. There's another method, which is the pick and pick color. Now, this is a duo. You use them together. Okay, sometimes you may end up using just pick, but that's when you really have done great work during production. I'll explain why. But generally, you use these two together. And this method is not based on picking a color, but based on the clean plate behind, the background behind your actors. Okay, let me explain. When you have a green screen here, okay? When you use a keyer or a hue keyer or a chroma keyer, you are selecting a particular color. You say, okay, I want to select the green. Then you may be thinking, well, is it not what we're supposed to be doing? Yes and no. Yes, we're removing the green, and no is what I recommend is something else. What I recommend is this method, which is the second one, which is quite brilliant. I mean, you can always go with those hue keyer, and chroma keyer, fine. You can always go do that. This is the traditional way of just selecting a color and then increasing the variation using the parameters, and then you start widening or narrowing the variation of green that you want to increase. That you want to include, so that you cover the maximum green or all the green that you have in here. But what do you have here? You've got light green up here. You've got darker here. It's not really evenly lit. So this is closer to the light. This is a bit darker. This is a bit darker. Oh, what is this? This is shadows. We've got shadows in there. That is not good. I have chosen deliberately this footage, which is a stock footage. We haven't shot this. This is stock footage. It has got a few mistakes in there, but it's really important to address these. I think also in terms of quality, I've chosen this really rubbish quality video. This is stock footage. This is not broadcast quality. And when you shoot your green screen, I know I'm opening a few brackets here, but it's really important to address them. And I'll be opening quite a few brackets as we go along with the green screen keying, because some things are really critical when you come to post-production. Now, you've got shadows here. Now, these guys shouldn't be that close to the green screen. And you may be thinking, well, okay, shall we just talk about keying out the green screen? Now, this is the reason why I'm talking about this. Because when you are going to use pick and pick color, it is going to help you, yes, but there are a few things that you need to prepare during production. When you key using chroma keyer, hue keyer, or keyer, that is, I wouldn't say it's going to be a nightmare, but it's going to be like, okay, you're asking one keyer to take away this very light, bright, saturated one and this dark, unsaturated one at the same time. Without hurting your edges, that is asking too much, okay? Right, so let's go back to the choice between the methods. I'm going to recommend using pick and pick color, okay? Why? Now, because most often than not, during your production, you are going to end up with something that is evenly lit. Now, I'm not saying you're not going to do your work properly. You're going to do your best, but sometimes, have you seen the movie The Martian? Now, please Google movie The Martian and Google the green screen set and green screen stuff. They have a huge green screen backgrounds, and these are different. Now, this is the things, like reality is such that you may be using different backgrounds because you have to fill the gaps. You are going to use the wall behind the Martian as a huge, to key out the whole landscape behind him and to replace it with space, like just black stars and stuff. That is a huge thing. Plus, when you have the frame from when the camera is down looking up to him, you have a completely different one, and these greens are not the same. It's fine. So this is why I'm recommending this pick color method, because it's fine. Because this is reality. You're going to use different backgrounds, and some of those greens are going to be different. And in one of our shots, we just had different green screens for the simple reason that these products are different. So one that is standing is in one color, in a particular green, and then you've got another one which is rolling in another green, and then you've got another one which is handheld, which is in another green. It's all green, but this skier is going to have a tough time at that. You're going to be asking too much. You are going to use this skier when it is almost perfect. Now let's face it, it's almost never the case in reality. So this is why I'm recommending, and I'm going to teach you this pick and pick color method, which is not about selecting a color. You are not going to find this color picker anywhere. So when we start and you're going to want to find the color picker and then select, yeah, let's select the green, it's not there because it doesn't care about the color you're selecting. It just tells you, I am going to remove your whole background. It doesn't matter how rubbish that is. Now, it's not an excuse to have rubbish backgrounds, okay? You need to light them evenly. You need to do your proper work properly. And you need to make sure that all what needs to be done during production has been met. All the conditions have been met. And then when you come to post-production, it is going to help you. Now, let's now come and bring this, fellows. This is a duo. They work together. Let me talk about these two. Right, okay. So you've got pick color and pick. So what is this pick color? If we're talking about we're not going to remove the color, we're going to remove the background. So why is it called pick color? Right, okay. So this pick is your normal keyer. It's got so many arrows, has it not? Plenty of arrows. It does brilliant work. I'm going to show you why. This is your normal keyer. This is the one where that is going to remove what needs to be removed. Okay, I'm not saying remove the green, I'm saying remove what needs to be removed. And I'll explain that further. When we come to the pick color, okay, what does this one do? Let's go one step before, okay, one step before. These two nodes are going to ask you a question. They're going to tell you, do you have a clean plate? You want us, it's like these two nodes speaking now, you want us to key your green screen to remove your background. Fine, we're going to do that. But do you have a clean plate? It's not a condition. This is not a bad news. This is not, unfortunately, you need to have a clean plate. No, it's great if you have a clean plate. Then this pick color tells you, okay, you don't need me because you already have your clean plate. Chances are you're not going to have it, but please, when it's possible, do have your clean plate, because this, in that case, this method of pick is going to offer you stuff you will not find somewhere else. I'll tell you what that is. Imagine it was shot properly. This one, shot properly means it's going to have tracking markers, right? You've got tracking markers, plus assuming the shot has the ground, and the ground is in green screen, and you got the shadows. Right? So the shadow, I'm not talking about these bad shadows, I'm talking about the good shadows. Because when you walk on the floor, on the ground, and the ground is green screen, now generally I know that when we shoot in green screen, we try to have the maximum of the environment that the actor is going to interact with to be real. Real as it's supposed to be in the film. So the ground needs to be created to match the world that you want it to be in the film. And only key the wall. Something like that. This is really preferred. Otherwise, you're going to ask too much from your keyer. But still, if you have the ground as a green screen and you have shadows, this method is going to give you your shadows back. That's a gift. Why? Because they tell you, thank you for giving us that is, if you bring the clean plate with you, right? Clean plate means you're going to ask these gentle, these two people, can you please move to the side, and then whatever your background is, you're going to shoot it as clean. You need a clean plate. Why? Then you're going to feed this clean plate. Instead of this one, you delete it and you put it here. So this belongs here. Let me just put them where they belong. This one belongs here. Yes, I know you're going to find some weird stuff going on. I'll explain what all this stuff is. What I'll do now, I will connect those nodes and keep explaining because it will make better sense for you, right? So let me connect this. This one is going to be connected to this, and then you've got a background here, got a foreground. Okay, don't worry about this one. This stuff is about the frame rate difference between the project and the footage that we have brought in, stuff that we should change in the project settings or change the frame rate of this one. That's a different story. right? So we've got the foreground in here, same thing in here. Okay, and then I've got the merge node. Because what? Because this keyer is a keyer. It doesn't composite. So we need to have a merge node to composite the stuff. And then I've got my B here. I'll explain all of this, don't worry. But I'm trying to set up things in such a way that we have a clear workflow. And then I'll tell you what each one does and why it is better for you to have a clean plate. Not always possible, but it's great to have it. Now, what I'm going to do is come over here and split horizontal. When you work on green screen, give yourself the luxury of having two viewers because you can. Okay, so split it and come here and get new viewer. This is your viewer number 2 and connect it here. Nice. What do we have? A big mess. Why? Well, because the settings by default are for blue screen. Haven't you noticed? His suit is blue and his suit was keyed out. But the green is still there because these are by default screen type blue. I just change it to green. And this big one, change it to green as well. Now, something else I'd like you to do is, because it depends on how many you're going to have in the properties here. When you work with green screen, have two viewers. When you work with green screen, have two properties tabs. And then, especially when you're working with this pick and pick color, and then have this pick like this. Pick color number 1 and pick number 2 here. This is going to be a little bit more structured and the steps are going to be very clear, all right? This is how I'd like to work. And it's going to make your life much easier. Right, now we have this. This is not finished. I mean, we're going to add a bit more, but let's see what they do already now. This pick color, what does it do? Now, have you noticed? Can you find any color picker here? Nothing. Why? Because we don't pick any color. We're going to change the background. Now, the method of pick is a little bit similar if you're familiar with Nuke. It's exactly the concept of IBK, image-based keying. IBK in Nuke, that's what's going on here. Now, in Natron, you're going to be happy to learn that the pick method is more robust than the IBK method in Nuke. Well, it came after it, so it has taken the robust stuff that you find in Nuke and it has added to it, what? Some wonderful functionality from Keylight. Let me open another bracket. And it's all for the purposes that you get as much knowledge and techniques as possible, instead of just showing you how to click buttons, all right? You know that green screen keying, generally, we don't use one keyer. We use something called an Uber key. An Uber key is a combination of keyers. So you bring, for example, in Nuke, you would bring Keylight, Primat. And for fun, let's add IBK as well. So 3 keyers are going to work on one image. Keylight is going to take care of the hair. IBK is going to take care of the solid matte, and then Primat is going to take care of some other stuff, whatever. And then you combine these in one keyer called Uber key. Okay. Now this concept was, I think, embraced somehow by the developers of Natron when they worked on Pick. Pick is supposed to be IBK in Nuke, right? But Pick is more robust and stronger than IBK. Why? Because it has added functionality of Keylight. So it's a little bit like you have 2-in-1. Pick is a little bit like you have IBK and Keylight in Nuke in one keyer. This is really robust. This is really good. Okay? Now, I'll show you what functionalities. I'm not saying they're exactly the combination, but I'm showing you the mindset and the functionality that they have added. I'll show you these. Now, let's close the bracket and come back again. Now, this one is telling you, listen, if you don't have your clean plate, fine. I'm going to recreate it for you. Recreating it means it is going to look behind, well, it's not magic, it's just trying to recalculate the green values behind these gentlemen. All right, so whatever you have in the foreground is going to be removed and it's going to recalculate your clean plate. What is the purpose of this big color? It is not to remove the green, it is to add the green. So it is completely different mindset. That's why when we talk about keyers and you come here and you're like, yeah, I want to remove the green. Which method do you want? When I recommend these two, it's because it's completely different route, completely different way. You are adding green. You're not removing it in first step. And then in the second step, you remove everything that's behind. You remove the whole background. Doesn't matter what's in there. You've got shadows, it's going to be removed. You've got tracking markers, it's going to be removed. And this is one of the great things that I wanted to talk about. And then we open another bracket is, what do you get for free with this pick and pick color method? Is that when you bring your cream plate, when you have tracking markers, say, when I started talking about this, when you have tracking markers, let's say tracking markers here over the place, and you bring your clean plate and you put it instead of this one. This is where it needs to belong, right? You just read node and you bring it in and you put it here, your clean plate. What this method is going to do for you is it is even going to remove the tracking markers for you. You don't need to do manual painting. Well, it's not really manual. You don't need to work on the tracking markers. They're going to be removed by themselves. Now, assuming the actors do not overlap with the tracking markers, right? And even so, it really does great work. So tracking markers are going to be removed for free. Okay, so number 2 is the shadows, as I said, on the ground, you get them back. Why? Because it is going to remove the clean plate. And the clean plate, when the actors are not there, the shadows are not there. So whatever you add to it is going to remain. The shadows will stay, okay? All right, so these two very, very good advantages of having your clean plate. If you don't have it, then this picker tells you, okay, don't you worry. I am here just to recreate it. Recreate it, but you're going to help me with a few parameters. These are the parameters, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, you've got size, you've got this level stuff. Don't worry about these. We're not going to worry about that, these ones. We're going to work with darks, lights, erode, and patch black. Very, very structured steps. And then this one will take over. Once this one recreates the background, it is going to ask this one to remove the background. It's not asking to remove the green. Remove whatever you see in the background. And then put the key in there, right? So let's do it. Step number 1 is, of course, making sure that you have properties with number 2 here, showing 2 of them in sequence, pick color and pick 1. Number 1, we come here and the purpose is to do what? Is to have this as a clean plate. We are like recreating it. Okay, if it's clean plate, we shouldn't have these 2 gentlemen here. So basically the final result of the work of this node is not to have them there. Okay, so let's start doing that. Number 1, we're going to make sure that our green is net, so we don't have any problems. So we're going to start reducing this a little bit. And sorry, let me just reset. Something quite important. Okay, well, I reset to the blue as well. Something quite important. I really wish the programmers have started, give us the default values with this instead. Click please on this 3. Click on the 3 because we're going to work on the green only. If it was blue, you would work on the blue only, okay? So this is, click on this 3 and 3 because I'm going to reduce just the greens. And the idea is to reduce the darks and reduce the lights to the point where we have a rather more uniform, not really uniform, but it's just like cleaning up the background, right? How do we do it? And without contamination. We reduce it without contamination. I'm going to exaggerate just for the purposes of showing you what contamination is. Something like this. This is contamination. This black stuff that shows up, this is contamination. We do not want to have that. So we go in something like 0.05. We're going to have some contamination. See, we still have it here. It should go away. 0.03, gone. Okay, but I need to remove the lights to reduce the lights as well. So I'm going with 0.9. So I'm going down from 1. And the other one, the darks, I'm going down from 0. So if I do like this, it brings it back again. No, I should go a bit higher. Probably 0.7. That is not enough. I still see something there. Probably go here with 2.7. No, I still see a few pixels there. That is no good. Tell you what. I'm going to leave it at 0.2 and bring this one to 8. Oh, I think it's done. Wait, it's done. Cool. All right, so minus 0.02 and 0.98. Now, the idea is not to remember these numbers because the point is just to clear your own background. And the values are irrelevant. Just go very, very, very slowly down on the darks and on the lights, only in the green. I know you're going to forget. You're going to forget to click on those 3. But please make an effort to just remember in your checklist that you need to reduce only the greens. All right, so this is number 1. Number 2 is, okay, let's have a look here. This is one what we've worked on. We've worked on outside now. We've worked on outside now. Let's get closer to these guys. What do you see here? This is a blurry edge. You've got some blurry things in here. Now, this is a problem because if I already ask the node now to take away these gentlemen, we are going to live with, we're going to stay with this. This is going to stay there. I don't want it to stay. I need this to be removed. So this is why we have this erode. We have 3 steps in this pick color. Number 1, reduce the darks. Number 2, analyze. Number 2 is erode, which basically means not erode the black, but erode the green. This means I'm going to increase the blacks to cover this as well, because I want to remove this as well. So erode, I'm going to go up. Okay, I have a little problem, which is very good to highlight. Basically, when you see that a node is yellow, it means it's rendering. But when it's rendering for a too long time, chances are you got a problem, like a bug. So instead of deleting everything, what I would do, so this one doesn't have a problem, and this one is not responding at all. What I would do is just very, very, very simple. Just click on it, delete it, and tab, viewer, click and bring in a new viewer. I know it's called number 3. It's no longer number 1, but whatever. And then let's connect this here. Right. Okay, let's bring this erode back here so that we see what we were doing. It's good that we have these kind of problems that you know how to deal with them. Now, erode, when I increase it, see what happens? I'm increasing the black to cover. And don't be shy to go beyond 3. See, no more blurry edges because I have covered it with the black. Let's now center. I'm going to press letter H. Sorry, letter F to center this. F for framing. H is a nuke. All right. So F is in Natron now, and I have what? I only have the green, which is net. No, I'm not saying net like perfectly lit. No, you've done some work during production. Whatever you have during production is what we bring it in. We're going to reconstruct it as is. All right, so we've just cleaned it a little bit and then removed the blurry edges. And now comes the point where we're going to ask these gentlemen to gently leave our clean plate. Okay, how do we do that? Step number 3 is patch the black. Patch the black, you just increase it till they vanish. Okay, good. Now we're going to keep this in here and we may come back to tweak something. We may need to, all right? But if we don't, fine. But we prefer to leave this one in here. What just happened? We have added more green than we had before because we have just recalculated, like mathematically estimated what kind of green we would have behind these 2 gentlemen. And this is the clean plate. Now we're saying, oh, guess what? We have a clean plate. Yeah, it's not a real one. It's a calculated one, but we've got a clean plate. This is your calculated clean plate, which goes as clean plate to the pick color, to the pick node. Now comes the lovely, wonderful job of the pick. By the way, when I connected all of these things, you see that there was already, the result looks already kind of good. We had not even started when we got this, we hadn't even started. So there's a lot of work to be done to get to the result that we're aiming for. Don't get fooled by the lovely look that you would have here because it's really, we had already started. Pick node now. What does it do? Something wonderful. Okay, it does key in, but the wonderful part is that it takes 3 inputs. We've got a few other things as well, but the main inputs are it takes a clean plate, it doesn't take a color. Now that's the main advantage. Number 2, it takes the foreground, and you think, yeah, it needs the foreground. Now, the real bit is it also takes the background. Now, why would a pick node need the background for? I know it needs the clean plate because it needs to remove it. I know it needs the foreground because then it can say foreground minus clean plate equals these 2 gentlemen without the green screen. Cool, I understand this one. But why do we have the background here? Why does it need this background if it's not doing compositing? Compositing is happening in this one. Well, it needs the background because, and I'll show you why. We're going to move now to this in here. Just hold on a moment. I'll explain to you why the background is needed because we're going to use some parameters, some characteristics from the background for our foreground. Okay, and I'll reach that point, but that's the one of the last steps in here. So we finished this one. Let's move to big node. Sorry, I'll just double click on this one to make sure I have this one first, this one second. Now the first things are, this is just like a quick one. You reduce the red weight and the blue weight. If it was if it's green, it's blue weight. If it's blue, it's green weight. Yeah, that's why it's blue slash green. Okay, so just ever so slightly, like 4.8, 4.9, something like that, just to make sure that we don't have in the edges the reds or greens. Okay. Nice. The next bit is going to be to work on the screen matte. And then you think, well, this is what the programmers in Natron have added to what is traditionally known as IBK in Nuke, which is now PIC. Now, you don't find screen matte functionality in IBK in Nuke, but you do find it here. Why? Because they've taken these functionality from Keylight. So you've got the Keylight similar functionality of Keylight inside the IBK method, inside the pick method. Okay, clip black and clip white. I guess if you've already worked on a green screen keying before, these are very familiar. If not, well, clip black cleans the black, clip white cleans the white. And I'll show you how. Now, when you start working on this node, we're going to have to switch to alpha, right? And then you see how messy it is. Now, this needs some work. But the most important is not to have any hard whites in the edges, what we called back the contamination, right? So this is why we had to work with the darks and the lights, and to make sure that we reduce, yes, but at the same time, make sure we have no contamination. Now, the first thing is clip the black. Now, because we've done some work of cleaning in here, we don't need to go way high on the clip black. Clip black basically means something quite simple. What does it do really mathematically? What does it do in the background? Well, you may not be interested in the mathematics behind it, but it's good to understand the logic. When we say clip black and I increase this one, I say, yeah, it becomes clean, it's net. What does it really do? What does the computer really do? It's nothing else but telling the pixels, oh, okay, what is this? This is black. What are these values? Is this white? No, this is not white. This is gray. Okay, so by clipping the black, you are kind of redefining the black values, or asking, not really redefining, but asking the pixels, asking Natron, or any application actually, when you clip the black, any application. And it's this functionality is in plenty of applications. You find it in DaVinci, you find it in Fusion, you find it in Nuke, you find it in After Effects, you find it everywhere. So the logic is the same. You're asking for these pixels, any pixel that is close to the black to become black, but close by how much? Close by this value in here. So you say, okay, let's bring, what do we are converting the grays into blacks. We're not converting the whites into blacks. We may be thinking, well, why is this one not impacted? Because this is white. And we're touching the gray values, starting by the shade of gray that they have, okay? So, and then you move a little bit like this, fine. We have a little dot here, just move it just a little, fine. I'm gonna get a bit closer to his hand because traditionally, edges need to be worked on in a little bit more detail. Let me see. We've got another problem with this viewer. See, it got a bit stuck here. Not a problem. Tell you what, I'm just going to delete it and create a new one. Pick color is also stuck. Okay, renderer is not responsive anymore. It's good to have these problems when we record it. One or multiple renderers seems to not respond anymore after numerous attempts made by Natron to abort them for the last 5 seconds. That's a long time. This is likely due to render taking too long in a plugin. Now, we're not using the plugin yet. List of stalled renders, blah, blah. Pick color. Okay, cool. Would you like to kill these renders? No. No. What I'm going to do, because initially, I'm just bring another viewer. Okay. Well, this stuff doesn't happen that often, but it does happen. This is number 4. Just remove this one. Because, well, fortunately, it doesn't happen that often, but when it happens, you just remove your viewer. Now, yes, I know this one is stuck. But guess what? I don't need to change it anymore because I've already made I've already worked on everything. And by the way, the good news is is that Natron works in such a way that whatever has been done, the moment you change a parameter in here, it gets cached. So now this node is not reading from this node real time. It's reading from the cache of this node. Right? So when I'm working on this one, it's reading from the cache of this one. It's reading from the cache of this one. It's reading from the cache of this one. So if this is stuck and I don't need to change it, fine, we can move on. Well, it doesn't happen that often, but when it does, it can be a bit annoying. All right, it's really good to have these kind of problems when we're unrelated problems, that at least we get to cover them. All right, what do we have? Big hair, what have I done? Sorry, I'll just double click on this one again to get the order right. I have worked on the red weight, I've worked on the green weight, and I have started clipping the blacks, and I was supposed to be on the alpha, was I not? Yes, and I've cleaned the black, and we were here working on our clear black, and I think we have another problem. Tell you what, it has happened 3 times, so I think there is a problem. Okay, let's kill that render. It's now happening too often, which is an invitation to reconsider whether I would like to. All right, thank you. What I'm thinking of doing is recreate this whole stuff quickly. I have recreated another file and put the nodes with the parameters. So pick color is exactly what it was. Probably a little bit of difference with the erode or patch black, but the idea is just to remove actually the black. Good. Okay, so I have now stopped at the pick part where we need to work on this, and it's by reducing this slightly and reducing this one slightly again. Good. Okay, this just to reduce the weight of the reds and the blues in the edges. Okay, nice. Okay, this part is done. Now we come to the, of course, we need to work with alpha, and we come to the clip black and clip white. Now what we said is that clipping the black means we're inviting the gray pixels to become black. So increasing the level in such a way that when a pixel matches this value of gray, it becomes black. And same story about here. When a gray is closer to the white, but that's within the map, we are making it white. And we don't need to push more than necessary, but when it comes to the arms, I need to get a bit closer to the edges, because for the black, I need a bit more work in here. That's it, the last pixel is gone, and now I'm going to click on F to frame. This looks like a clean black and a clean white. This is a clean matte. All right, good to start working with. I am going to press on A on the keyboard to get back this, and we have some other things to do. Of course, there's a dispill, but before that, oh, you know what? Let's bring in a dispill, and then I'll show you something else. Let's bring in a dispill. So tab and dispill is this one. So you can just very simply come closer. Let's say come over here. You see some green here? Okay, we just want to get rid of that. Don't push too far, please. Expand spill map. You don't push it too far, just ever so slightly, so that we make sure that the green is almost gone. Yeah, because green does belong in the colors. It's not all gone, it's almost gone, because when we say all gone, you're removing it and you're putting magenta instead, right? So we don't want that. So just almost gone is about enough. Okay, let me just see. Let's get closer. Yeah, I think we're good. We are good. With the dispill, we're fine. Cool. Let me press F again to frame, and now I'm going back to the pick color to show you something fantastic. You remember I told you that this pick, sorry, not pick color, this pick node. This pick node, it takes foreground, it takes clean plate, but why does it take background? Now is the time to tell you why. I'll just put this stuff in order. Right. There's here, use background luminance, background chroma. Let me get closer to this guy. Show you something really cool. You see the edges here? This is dark, this is some other color, and this is like, it just doesn't belong there. It's like we've got some edge that's, well, I know you could tweak the clip black and clip white, but you're going to start touching your edges in a harsh way. Sometimes detail, especially for hair detail, I know. See, this is one of the things, I'm going to open another bracket. This is one of the things when you're working with a rubbish quality video. This is rubbish video, but I'm giving you the worst you can possibly have. Hopefully this is the worst you can possibly have as a video to show you that the technique works even on rubbish ones. Now, it's not an excuse to work with rubbish video. Please go with at least 422 10-bit, work with broadcast quality, starting with RAW, of course. Then if not, then go with ProRes 4444, and then compositing green screen needs great quality images, right? So, and I'm going here, and I'm going to start using the background information. Use background luminance, use background chroma. This can either make your composite better or worse. That is going to depend on the situation. In this case, I'm going to switch on the chroma first. Have you noticed the difference? On, off. This is on, off, on, off. That makes kind of a difference. A few pixels that were kind of whitish are just becoming a bit like the color of the hair and joining the hair. Okay, why? Because we're using the chroma value of the background. Okay, when it's light, it's light. When it's lighter, it's lighter. When it's darker, it's darker. Okay, so that's number one. Number two is you may or may not find it useful to use the background luminance. Let me get a bit closer and we'll look at this luminance. See, it helps sometimes. Actually, most often than not, it helps. Right, so I'm going to switch on background luminance and chroma. So this is why this big color is actually used in the background. And please, another thing. When you are making a compositing for green screen with a background, you are making a compositing of screen green with a background. What do I mean? It is with that particular background. What are you compositing? You have your foreground and you have your background. The idea is to match your foreground to your background. Now, I've repeated that 3 times. I'm not sure if you've paid attention to the word background. The purpose is not to make a perfect alpha that would match any background on the planet Earth. The purpose is to match your foreground to your background. That's compositing. This is why this big node does take into account your background luminance, your background chroma. So does your background match the compositing now? Now it does, yes, it works for us. So if we had another background, we would have done probably a different thing. Probably not even use background luminance, just use chroma, probably just clip more of the whites, clip more of the blacks. It is going to depend on the background information. Sorry, what I mean, clip more of the blacks, not the whites. So this idea of compositing based on taking into account your background is key. So does it work for your background? Yes, fine, we move on. Good, right. Have we finished? No, because green screen keying is not just about keying, but about bringing things to reality. Like, it needs to look realistic. And realistic is matching the colors. Well, are we going to go through color grading? Yes and no. Yes, about the minimum that needs to be in there, matching the luminance. And no is, well, I leave it up to you when it comes to color grading because that's an artistic choice. But what I'm going to ask you to do is please make sure that your lighting does make sense. So we're going to add a color correct node. Now, you can add any node you want, but I prefer color correct because it's got so many bells and whistles. Now you can, with one node, tweak a few things. I can even target shadows separately, target midtones separately, target highlights separately, or just not care about any of this and just go to the master, which I'm going to do now. So what I'll do is just simply go to the game because, have you noticed, the background has more vivid lighting than the foreground. The foreground seems and looks a little bit like it's not properly, I mean, the actors haven't been properly lit. So what I'll do is just add the gain probably just a little bit of contrast, and yeah, probably 1.2. Yeah, this, okay, let me show you before and after. Before, so I'm going to press on D in the keyboard, before, after, before, after, before, after. Okay, so it just, the idea is to bring them closer to each other, at least when it comes to luminance, at least when it comes to lighting, right? And then when it comes to colors, you can tweak your whatever. You can target the highlights. You can do further work based on your artistic choices. Okay, and this is how you make green screen keying in Natron using the pick method.